trapped in the box. All righty. Welcome to another exciting episode of Under the Dome, the off-season edition. I'm your host, Alan Ulrich, and I'm here with Sean Williams tonight. How you doing, Sean?
Doing fantastic, brother. Just another beautiful day in our wet neighborhood. Has it stopped raining down yet?
Well, yeah, actually the sun kind of showed up, but I've been finding this meme all over the internet today. It's Chris Farley from when he was supposed to be that motivational speaker who was living in the van down by the river, and it says, "For God's sake, stop raining." Tomorrow is supposed to be a better day, so
I saw the sun today on Facebook.
Hey, welcome to another version of Seattle. It's supposed to rain every day in the summer anyway. It rains in the afternoon. I just can't deal with this all day rain.
I cannot imagine. I mean, I did it for so many years, but I cannot imagine being me now and having to get up and motivate myself to the fact that I was about to have to go outside and do any sort of physical activity whatsoever. No.
I'm about ready to make I'm making a Vietnam era playlist. I'm starting with All on the Watchtower because I got to go cut my grass, and it feels like it's a jungle out there because I've been cut in a couple of weeks. So all I need is the Huey helicopter sound. I feel like I'm out in the jungle. Yeah.
Well, we want to pay the bills real quick. We want to thank Fan First Productions for being our sponsor and invite everyone to go to our channels on YouTube and iTunes and subscribe to the Under the Dome podcast. It will automatically be sent to you as it is logged. It's really a cool thing, and you help us when you help stuff to that. Also, I want to give a shout out to a buddy of mine that recently I've reconnected with. His name is Dottie Hero, and he is the 5-star hero that everybody's been hearing about. He does the Saints anthems and so on and so forth, and invite you to his channel on YouTube and Google. He's not yet on Google and the iPlay and iTunes stuff just yet, but he will be very soon. You can also follow him on Instagram at Saints Anthem. He's been a very avid supporter of ours since we began, and invite you guys to Anthem. It's pretty cool. I really liked it. He shared it with me a while back, and he's one of the more talented members of our Houdat Nation. So you guys fall in there and support him all you can. We also want to thank Joel Smith for his very loyal support through all the Facebook pages and everything else that he does. Good friend of ours, and again, a staunch supporter of the Under the Dome podcast. Okay, Alan, prevailing storyline coming out of New Orleans this week is more than likely going to be and I don't like using this word because I don't think it's appropriate for this situation, but the word to use, the controversy surrounding Nick Fairley and his his condition. We'll put it that way. What are you hearing in terms of the latest developments on that?
Well, I actually listened to an interview with Jennifer Hale, who actually broke the story on Saturday. And, the funny thing is, every time we start talking about, okay, what are we going to talk about next week? The Saints will provide a story for us, even during the off season, something to talk about. Yeah, this apparently is a heart condition. They will not identify what it is. No one from the Saints has officially spoken. This was a source that was close to Nick Fairley to explain why he has not been at the open portion that's to the media of the OTAs. Now they had last Thursday and the Thursday before last. There's a week this week. They started back up yesterday, so they have one more open session. I think tomorrow. I'm sorry, not tomorrow. Wednesday, and then, no, Thursday. Forgive me. I'm like, my week has been an interesting week so far. So Thursday will have be an open section to the media again. So we'll see if Fairley has come back or not. But Jennifer Hale dug in and tried to find out what was going on, and it turns out that Fairley was getting tests run on a heart condition he has had since his days at Auburn. It was identified in the pre-draft workouts. He has been playing with this for the past 7 years, but for whatever reason, he is having checkups on this, and he has not been participating in the OTAs. Now, minicamp, which I believe is in 2 weeks. I have to go back and look at the schedule, but minicamp is mandatory. OTAs are voluntary, and I use that quotation mark thing because even though it's voluntary, most everybody shows up. So we'll see if Fairley's not there for Thursday. We'll see if he shows up for the mandatory mini camp, and then we can really make a determination. How serious this may be. Of course, as soon as Jennifer Hale came out with the story, the Twitterverse exploded. The social media universe exploded with, "Oh my God, the Saints are doomed. They lost Fairley. He's going to be gone because he may have to retire because of this heart condition," the whole bit. And we really don't know anything about anything. I mean, honestly, we don't.
Let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you this, Alan. This is my immediate reaction to everything that's going on now. I'll put this before you, and you tell me if this makes any sense, if I'm totally off base with this, or it sounds to me like, okay, the media shows up for these OTAs one time, they follow it all through this week, then they show up for the next open practice, and
which has been
a reporter
back-to-back Thursdays, yeah,
wants to know, hey, where's this guy that we just gave a big payday to? Sean Payton doesn't speak to why Nick Fairley is out.
Mm-hmm.
Reporter goes on to he knows something that's not common knowledge, so to speak. But I mean, stories like this, when it comes to conditions, obviously this is not anything new. And that has been swept under the rug and is hush hush. But at the same time, it's not something that they've put on Sports Center when Nick Fairley was a first-round draft pick 7 years ago. Right. My point being, it sounds to me a reporter didn't get what he deemed a satisfactory response by Sean Payton and or the organization as to where Nick Fairley was. So he basically took it upon himself to a story. And I use that very loosely. I'm not in any way insinuating
that's fake news. That's fake news.
Yeah.
Well, it's not. Yeah. It's not fake news.
But at the same time, that's exactly what this sounds like.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, Sean Payton, when it comes to injuries, he doesn't tell you anything he doesn't have to tell you. He just says the player's not here. And Jennifer Hale has a source that Fairley does have a heart condition, and he did go see a specialist about it. And that's all she said. She did throw in, because this a heart condition can lead to, possibly the end of an athletic career. She did not say that he is going to, this is something that's serious. She did not say that this is something that is new. She just says he has a heart condition that could be career threatening if the worst case scenario happens. It's the Twitterverse that kind of ran with it once that was put out there. And I'll be curious to see if Sean addresses that Thursday at the open portions of the media, because we're finding out now that no, he's been having this condition. This was not something new. So there's a lot more to the story that has to develop to see whether or not this is something that if it's not new, if it's something that's happened that makes it worse. I mean, the guy is 290, 300 pounds, and if you have a heart condition and you're 300 pounds, that's not a good mix. But if the heart condition is treatable, and it has been treated, and he just has to go for checkups or more in-depth exams, the older he gets, because the man is what, 28, 29 years old? He's approaching 30. I'm not sure how old he is. Your body changes, obviously. They may want to just follow up and see, in-depth, cardiograms and so forth. Yeah, right. But it may be something they want to follow up in depth and see what else could be wrong. And it's a big deal because aside from the fact that, yes, you want him as a human being to have not only be healthy enough to play, but if it does mean he has to retire, he has a good quality of life and the whole bit. But it hurts the Saints at the worst possible position, defensive line, because here we were thinking defensive tackle was going to be a source of strength, and people were imagining a whole season of Fairley and Rankins playing side by side, providing the interior pass rush. You take Fairley out, you've got nothing really. I mean, yes, you've got Onyemata and you've got, Tyler Davidson, but you really have nobody with the talent level of a Nick Fairley and his 6.5 sacks last year that will push that pocket as much as you would hope it could be done with those two guys in there. So that's why, that's all what's driving all of this. We don't know anything more than what Jennifer.
My thing.
Go ahead, Sean.
My thing is this. I'm getting a bit of a delay. It may be the weather that's coming through here. I apologize. Okay. My thing is this, that and as far as this goes, I have a heart condition myself. It's one of those things that I've been diagnosed with since the cancer, blah, blah, blah. No big deal. That's nothing to do with what we're doing here. But that being said, yes, it's serious. And I do not at all in any way, shape, form, or fashion make light of facing Fairley or Fairley facing the issue. And as far as that goes, prayers go out to Fairley, because for football, it may not always seem that way, but comes first. This is all a thing that entertains us, but at the same time, this is a man's life that we're discussing. And I hope that we never get so involved in the other part of it that we don't remember that. Now, all of that being said, I told someone earlier, I believe it was our friends at the C3 podcast. They asked me what I do, and I just basically laid out everything that you and I just discussed here. And I said, bottom line, yes, it's serious. I don't think that it's anything new. I don't think that there's any new developments. Bottom line, I think Fairley still starts. I don't think he misses a snap based on this. Unless it's another injury or something that we're talking about. In terms of just this discussing now, I don't see this affecting his status as a starting defensive lineman for the New Orleans Saints in a negative way. Now, that's not to say that anything else may affect that one way or the other, but I don't see this affecting it. I think it was, while, yes, I do acknowledge that it's a very serious thing, yada, 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 it's not anything new. It was something that was, at the risk of sounding redundant, it was blown way out of proportion to have something to print. That's my honest take on it. And I very well may be off base with that. And if I am, I do apologize. But that's just my reaction to it.
Well, we didn't know. I didn't know that he had a heart condition. I didn't know that I don't remember seeing any of that in his pre-draft discussions where they talk about every possible thing that could be wrong with a player: knee, elbow, degenerative hip, whatever. You didn't hear about a heart condition with Fairley. So in that sense, it was a big news story because we didn't even know this. He had something like this, and it hit people as this is something new. The good news, if there is any good news out of this, the good news is that he has been playing with this apparently for the past 7 years. So yes. The optimist in me will say, okay, he gets some treatment for it. He can go out there and play. Just like you were saying, he can go out there and do what he did last year. He just has to monitor it. If that means going to the doctor more, it means practicing less, so be it. The worst case scenario is that he has to retire because of health concerns. But the best case scenario is they just have to monitor it, and he can just keep on doing what he's doing. He's not hurting himself, so he can keep doing it. It just becomes a fear because, once again, it's an injury, a player you're counting on, and you're worried who can step up. Really, right now, if you look at the roster, you think no one can step up and fill that void. So that's why there's so much negativity about this, and why there's so much concern beyond hoping that Fairley feels better. You're really concerned from the Saints' point of view. How is this defense going to play? Which kind of leads into the next thing. Let's look at the defensive line.
That's an interesting segue into our next.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Let's look at that defensive line then, because let's assume for this discussion that Fairley will play, okay, and that Onyemata and Davidson will be rotational players depending on the down and distance. We know we got what we have with Cam Jordan. He had a Pro Bowl type season, even though he didn't make it to the Pro Bowl. Rankins, we saw glimpses of what he can be coming off of a broken leg. It looks like he's a star in the making. We've talked enough about Fairley. We know what he can offer us. Tyler Davidson very quietly had a very good year last year as a run stuffer. We really saw that middle of that defense shut the run down. So, and Onyemata had, made some misses and made some plays for somebody who is only the second or third year playing football, period, not just playing at the NFL level, but playing football. The question mark, and this was the question mark before the draft, who is going to fill that opposite end outside of Cam Jordan? It looks like it's going to be Alex Okafor. So, what are your impressions of the defensive line in the pass rush? Yeah, we're on a delay.
Okay, can you repeat the question, please? I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. What are your impressions of the defensive line? And I'm sorry, I'm reaching behind this computer because it was bothering me. What are your impressions of the defensive line, its strengths and weaknesses, and who will fill the role opposite of Cam Jordan?
I think that I don't know. Probably the simplest way that I could look at this and really try to word it effectively is that bookend for Cam Jordan is going to be either first and foremost, it'll be Alex Okafor, the opportunity to make that first impression. I believe that Trey, he's going to have an opportunity to step up and into that role on a rotational basis. I have a gut feeling there's going to be someone in-house now that quite possibly could step outside of their normal role. Maybe a Sheldon Rankins used on the outside as a who knows. I think that it's going to be, to make a comparison, maybe as it's been so long here for the Saints, it's going to be basically the same thing until they find what works. It's just going to be giving everybody a shot and seeing what they have to work with. Like I say, I do believe that it's going to, for lack of a better way of putting it, maybe it's going to be Okafor's position to either win or lose. I really I'm curious to find out. Coming out of the draft last year, the line on was that he had power upon power upon power. He just had absolutely no technique whatsoever. And based on his limited coaching that he had for what for him passed as a career, so to speak, I think that it's going to be imperative for Onyemata to take his progression to the next level, so to speak. It's going to be really important for him to roll and provide the Saints with an alternative to all the other guys that they have. I mean, if you look at the New Orleans Saints on that defensive front, it's a game of numbers because you have Cam Jordan. You know, as you said, you know what you're getting from Cam Jordan. That's nothing new. Okay, but you got Cam Jordan, and then after him, you have Alex Okafor, Fairley, more than likely. Who else we got?
Oh well, you got Daryl Tapp. You've got we're not even mentioning Kihaka as a designated pass rusher. You've got several. Tyler Davidson. Oh yeah, as a starter, Tyler Davidson. But yeah, so I mean, there's several options. Here, you know,
I think that it's going to be there's going to be an you're going to face some fairly overpowering teams in the preseason not really superpowers. You're going to face some teams that may test you here. They're not going to test you there, but it's going to be a good place for you and to see exactly where you stand.
You know, while we're talking here, and I just want to remind myself here, I was going back and looking at a lot of the the draft review of Okafor coming into the 2013 draft, and a lot of it has been saying the same thing. Good pass rusher, would probably fit best on the left end pass rushing spot. Can play linebacker, outside linebacker in the 34 scheme, probably fits best as a 43 player. Here's the thing with Okafor, and a lot of people, I guess, dismiss the signing because he had some. I'm going to go back here and look real quick. I just passed up his stats page. He was a 4th-round pick in the 2013 draft. He played 15 games last year, 13 in 2015, 13 in 2014. Only one game he started in 2013, his rookie year. The most he got sack-wise was in 2014. He got 8 sacks, if I'm reading this correctly. Yeah, his breakout season 2014, started 12 or 13 games, played, he said registered team highs with 8 sacks, 20 quarterback pressures, and 19 QB hits. So you've got something there, okay? The question is, can he be consistent on that?
While you're giving these stats.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I do think that it's very important to note. I think it's important to note while you're quoting just exactly how talented a unit that he garnered these statistics on.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, you're back. All right. Yeah.
Did you get all of that?
Yeah, I did. He was on a good, talented defense in 2014 for the Cardinals.
And my point is, he was a back on that very, very good Cardinals defense. He wasn't a starter, so the statistics that he managed to amass while he was in Arizona, that came in a backup role, not necessarily as a starter. So I just wanted to point that out.
He did start in 2014, but then he was relegated again. He didn't, I guess, because of injuries and so forth. He kind of went to rotational mode towards the end with Arizona. But the point is, the Saints are going to try multiple things, and they switch to multiple defenses. So maybe a play like Okafor is going to work because he can play that designated pass rusher who can also play the run. So they can rotate him with, let's just say, Kahaka, if he can stay healthy. Darryl Tapp coming in sometimes to play the run. You can flip him and Cam Jordan on either side. You can do multiple things. You can go to a 3-4 defense with maybe Rankins playing a defensive end. You're with 4 linebackers, with Ellerby as a pass rusher. There's multiple things you can do, and I think that's where we're going to see, I guess, Dennis Allen and Mike Nolan and Sean Payton really experimenting with a lot of stuff that, as fans, we're just concentrating on, okay, who's starting, who's playing on the field right now, and that kind of thing. And what you're going to end up seeing, I think, this year with the defense, it's just like how we see with the offense, with receivers shifting in and out, running backs coming in and out, and tight ends coming in and out. You're going to see a lot of defensive players rotate in and out based on down and distance, based on opponents, based on formations, to kind of throw off or make quarterbacks and offensive coordinators really prepare to face the Saints, because you don't know what you're going to get out there. He's going to throw everything at you, We have 3 safety looks. We're going to have 4 linebackers. We have 2 linebackers. We're going to have 5 defensive ends. We're going to see all kinds of different things come at this team. So I guess what I'm trying to say is you have a better chance of seeing players that can play multiple positions on the field and do multiple things on the field be starters for the Saints defense. And that's why I'm kind of leaning towards Okafor, Rankins, Fairley, those kind of linemen that can play both a 4-3 and a 3-4 kind of defense and can be on the field for all 3 downs.
Okay, well, let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Worst case scenario, tomorrow morning we wake up to the headlines that Nick Fairley has announced his retirement.
Mm-hmm.
Now, please, everyone understand, this is a hypothetical. This is not anything that I've heard. This is not anything that's real time or actually happening. This is just for the sake of this conversation. So please, no one jump off of a building or anything like that. In all seriousness, what if Fairley is eliminated from the equation, so to speak,
mm-hmm.
defensive line?
Who do I see stepping up in that place of Fairley?
Yeah, that's a place to start.
I had to say today, you would see Davidson play a little bit more. You got to realize that Fairley and Rankins both play the 3 technique. So they both technically are playing the same position. It's just on pass rushing downs, that's when they like to get the 2 of them together on the field, get their best pass rushers on the field, so they all are rushing the passer. You've got to realize that a lot of times you would see, let's say on 1st and 10, a power running team that they're going to play, say like the Minnesota Vikings on opening night. You're going to see Jordan, Rankins, Davison, and probably Okafor as your starting 4. Okay, and then if they stop them on 1st down, so now it's 2nd and long. Here comes Fairley. He may rotate in with Rankins, or Rankins may kick over, and you have Fairley and Rankins together. Or they may put Kihaka down and pull Okafor out. They used to have Cam Jordan slide into the tackle position and kick somebody else on the outside. That's all things that the Saints are going to do. So I guess that's why I'm trying to say we're kind of getting locked into, okay, who's your starting 4 on your defense, when the reality is it's kind of like the Saints receiving core. Your starters are going to be based on your matchups. Who are you going to play against? Obviously, Thomas and Snead are going to start, and I know we're talking about receivers now, but where they're going to start is going to depend on the matchup, because you may have Snead and Thomas on the outside. You may move Thomas to the slot and have I can't think of the tight end's name now. I'm sorry. Oh, I just drew a blank on Fleener. You may have Fleener line up outside the numbers. I just drew a blank on his name. I'm sorry. You may have Ginn line up on the outside, and you have Snead in the slot and Thomas on the same side as Snead, depending on where the matchup is, because the Saints are all about scheme and matchup, identifying the weakness. Where can I exploit the biggest weakness? And that is so different, and that's what the modern NFL is like. It's all about exploiting weaknesses. And offensive and defensive coordinators caught up to that. So they play defensive schemes and offensive schemes designed to attack whatever you can handle. It's not just, I'm lining up my best 7 and we're going after you. No, it's a chess game. You're constantly moving your pieces around to find out what gives you the best opportunity to win. So you want players that could do multiple things. And I'm gonna keep beating that drum because I feel like that's what they want to do.
I agree.
I don't know.
You and I come basically the same era. Back in the Staubach and the Bradshaw days, where about 11, let's line them up and see who wins.
Yep.
Those days are gone, and it's more like, I got 18 guys here. Let me see what you put out on the field, and I'm going to put something out there to correspond with what you do. And it's so, the way that I explain to other people is, I come from a era where it was basically checkers.
Mm-hmm.
Is playing chess.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense?
Sure, because Archie Manning had said a long time ago, when Peyton first started back in 1997, Archie said he had to learn basically 3 or 4 coverages as a quarterback. Because the same 11 guys were out there all the time. Maybe a linebacker would go in and an extra cornerback came out. But you basically saw, and let's talk about the Steelers, for example. You basically saw in every single down against the Pittsburgh Steelers, you had, L.C. Greenwood, you had Ernie Holmes, you had Mean Joe Green, and you had Dwight White. That's your 4. Your linebackers are Jack Ham, Jack Lambert, Andy Russell in the beginning. You had Donnie Shell on one side. You had Mel Blount on the other. And you had your 2 safeties. That was your defense. The same guys. Down and distance doesn't matter. Those same guys were out there all the time.
And see, that's the types of, I almost used an expletive there. That's the type setup that I played under.
Sure.
You weren't limited to situational play so much as you had to adapt to what the other team was doing. It wasn't like, okay, this is a pass down. I'm a cover corner, so I got to go out for this guy to come in. It was more of a, okay, this is a passing down. This is my responsibility. So, I mean, the whole has changed.
You clearly
it's
had
all about getting a favorable, as you said.
Right.
It's getting that matchup.
When you and I were playing, and when you and I were watching, it was clearly, this is your first string players, this is your second string players. Okay, second string came in to give your first string a breather, but they were clearly second string players. Your stars all were your starters. Okay. And what we're seeing today, and we saw it first at the running back position with running back by committee, we're seeing that with the Saints receiving corps, where there's no true number 1 receiver. And then people talk about, you can just plug in any receiver you want. That is because it's a system. It's designed to fit. You're designed to get players that can do multiple things, so your system will work. Okay. And we're seeing all the teams do this. Why did the Carolina Panthers, you think, take the kid from Stanford, Christian McCaffrey? He doesn't fit their scheme, but they took him in part because they're trying to diversify their scheme to make them look less predictable. Okay? Give them more options. Make them more dangerous. Okay? And we're seeing that Atlanta Falcons showed that last year. What made the Atlanta Falcons so good compared to previous years? Suddenly now they had 2 running backs that could do damage, where they kept trying to find that one power back, whether it was Michael Turner, whether it was Steven Jackson. They kept trying to find that one back to carry the ball 30 and 40 times a game, just like it did back in the 90s when they had Jamal Anderson. Well, that's not the key to making it work. What makes it work is multiple backs that could do multiple things to make your offense more dangerous. You took a lot of pressure off Julio Jones because you have multiple receivers who could make make plays and play any position in the field so you can exploit matchups.
Yeah.
Bill Belichick did it to the nth degree when he could put Troy Brown in, a receiver, at cornerback. You know, he takes Rob Nikovic, who is a defensive end linebacker hybrid, and uses him as a roaming linebacker and makes a star out of him. You know, that's what we're seeing now in the league. You're seeing where they can try and make players do multiple things. So, and I think the Saints that's what they're doing now. They finally seem to have a defensive coordinator who is willing to do these things instead of someone who's kind of stuck in a certain mindset and doesn't know how to adjust. They've got a defensive coordinator now who seems to be able to be more flexible, and they can find players now that can do multiple things. You want to talk a little bit about Onyemata? We kind of touched on it a little bit, but what?
Before you get to that, let me ask you this, and this is kind of that's not on our outline. I grant you. A year plus 10. Where do you put Dennis Allen?
You know, it's hard.
I apologize for putting you on the spot.
No, I do zero show prep. You know that. I just start talking.
Well, you know, all jokes aside, you can.
I mean, if I had to rank, if you wanted me to rank, if you want me to rank the Saints defensive coordinators, I would put Dennis Allen as probably the second best defensive coordinator that Sean Payton has had, ahead of Gary Gibbs.
I agree.
Well ahead of who I think are the two worst defensive coordinators the Saints have had, in Steve Spagnuolo and Rob Ryan. But he hasn't had the success Greg Williams has had. Now, Greg Williams had better players.
Well, until the Saints reach another Super Bowl, and as far as that goes, under Dennis Allen, he's always going to be in the shadow of Greg Williams.
Yeah. I mean, Greg Williams, here's the thing, too, with Greg Williams, and people forget, Greg Williams is a Buddy Ryan disciple. So he believes strongly in the 46 defense and all that pressure and stuff like that. And he realized quickly, looking at that roster, that he didn't have the players to really run his defense. But he was blessed with a player like Jonathan
Darren
Vilma.
Sharper.
Well, and Darren Sharper too, but Jonathan Vilma especially, who could run his defenses, and he modified his defense to fit the personnel the team had, which is something that Spagnuolo did not do. Fit the personality of the team the players that he had, and he gave Vilma the leeway to call the defenses. He told him what he wanted. You know, they obviously put the game plan together, but he said, if you see something, you can change the defenses. You call whatever you want. And Vilma, more often than not, guessed properly. Allen doesn't have a Vilma on his team. Spagnuolo didn't take advantage of someone like a Vilma. Rob Ryan didn't have a Vilma on the team.
Yeah.
So that, I kind of put Greg Williams and Jonathan Vilma together as far as, and Darren Sharper, in 2009. But for 3 years, those 3 years, Vilma was more important because Vilma basically ran the show. He knew how to maximize that defense, and it was it was built on pressure, Where would I put Dennis Allen ranked against Saints defensive coordinators all time? I give him an incomplete right now. I can't really rank him because let's see what he does if he gets some good players. I mean, he's not Steve Sidwell, who is probably the best defensive coordinator the Saints have ever had. He's not Wade Phillips,
Absolutely,
who is probably the second best defensive coordinator the Saints have ever had. And I would put Greg Williams third in that list. I know people are like, what? Greg Williams got you a Super Bowl, but those two had the number one ranked defenses in the NFL. With Sidwell and Phillips.
You're very, 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 very far more versed in all of that than I. In terms of ranking, and I'm probably the last person in the world adept enough at doing that. But that being said, Greg Williams would be number one. You can villainize the guy. You can demonize the guy. He's got a Super Bowl ring. He got this to bring a Lombardi trophy to Poydras Avenue. That's all that I'm concerned with, so to speak. And as far as Dennis Allen goes, I think he's doing a very good job with what he's got to work with. But until he sees the Lombardi trophy under his regime, so to speak, come to Poydras Avenue, he's going to be living in the shadow of what Greg Williams did.
Well, I mean, my thing is, and
I'm waiting for you to tell me I'm an idiot.
No, you're not an idiot. I mean, I was around, I watched, the Bum Phillips era, Wade Phillips, and I was there obviously to watch the Jim Mora years with Steve Sidwell and Vic Fangio and Dom Capers and that whole crew. Here's the thing though. You look at those coaches, coaches are only as good as the players they have around them. That's why I kept saying Williams was good because he had a Jonathan Vilma to help him. Wade Phillips was good for the Saints because he had a Ricky Jackson, he had a Bruce Clark, he had a Jim Wilkes, he had all those players, Dennis Dirt Winston, Doc Kovach, and then going back to Steve Sidwell, he had a Sam Mills, a Vaughn Johnson, a Ricky Jackson. He had the players he needed to make his system work. I can run a 3-4 defense all day long, but if I don't have good linebackers, I'm just going to get my butt kicked the whole time. So that's the thing about Dennis Allen. Before we start saying that he's no good, that he's not good enough, give him the players. I can't think of a defensive coordinator who could come in and take this group of players. Well, I shouldn't say this group because I don't know what they're going to do, but take the defense of 2014 or the defense of 2015 or even the 2016 defense with all those injuries and make them better than what Dennis Allen has done. You can't. I can't see a defensive coordinator coming in and making Jairus Byrd a better player than what he showed in New Orleans, based on the talent around him. He wasn't going to make Brandon Browner have fewer flags. I mean, Bill Belichick was able to hide that. But you have to have all your pieces in place. Otherwise, your defense falls apart. What happened after?
Absolutely.
Once Pat Swilling was gone, and Vaughn Johnson had the staph infection, then he left, and Sam Mills. Ricky Jackson left and went to the 49ers, and Sam Mills went to the Carolina Panthers. What happened to Steve Sidwell's defense? It was not nearly as good. It couldn't be as good with players like DeMond Winston and James Williams and Darian Connor and the guys who were trying to use to replace the Dome Patrol. They weren't as good of players.
Yeah.
To me, that whole defense fell apart with Pat Swilling being traded, and then Jim Wilkes, who was the nose guard, retiring, and you have Pig Goff and Les Miller in there. And I know
Yeah.
people right now are Googling these people. Who the hell is this person? Yeah, when Pig Goff and Les Miller now playing the nose guard, suddenly now that 3-4 defense doesn't work as well because you don't have a guy who can hold up the two gap. He can't hold that guard center together like Jim Wilkes could, or Jumpy Gathers, or the players that used to play that position. I'm sorry, I was getting all excited there. Talking about these old players.
The saddest thing. I think the saddest thing that I ever saw, Saints fan. I'm one of those people. Jesus says it's February, it's March. I'm a football fan. I don't like basketball. I don't like well, I follow baseball, but I'm a football fan, period. And here to the left, I see arena football. So this has been several years ago. I flip on an arena football league and I see Jumpy Gathers.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, man!
They called him the forklift. Forklift. That was his nickname, the human forklift.
He was absolutely that.
Because when he decided
my whole point in all.
Yeah. I was going to say when he decided he wanted to be the forklift. It was a delay.
Dennis Allen is doing. I apologize.
No, it's a delay.
I'm going to get these issues worked out.
It's the weather. It's the weather, so it's no big deal. Just go ahead. Go ahead with your point.
My whole point in the whole so to speak, Dennis Allen. I get questions all the time. Is Dennis Allen the man? You've got to take into context one thing. Dennis Allen came along in a line of succession. He came along behind a very public and very, if you want to go that route, popular guy in Rex Ryan. He's not so much the big public figure, but he's getting the job done. Let's give him the room to finish the job.
Yeah. Here Rob Ryan had that success in 2013 because he had the players that were smart enough to execute his schemes and kind of cover up some of his weaknesses, because he was never a detail kind of guy. He was more of a grand scheme kind of guy, and we got a lot of success with him that first year because we had the kind of players we had. And then the wheels came off in 2014. But
that follows his modus operandi, does it?
Right.
With Cleveland, with Dallas, and then with us.
But he had the most success with us, and that's the difference too. The thing about Rob Ryan, I should say, is when things were good, he's the kind of coach Saints fans could love. Okay? He's fat. He's got this long hair. He says whatever the hell pops into his head. I remember Ralph Marlboro one time said he would love to have seen after a game where the Saints beat the hell out of somebody, him crack open a beer and take questions while he's drinking a beer at the press conference, because that is it's a quintessential New Orleanian. I mean, just shoot from the hip, have a beer, take a swig while he's hearing the question. Yeah, I got you right here. And him going to Miss Mays and buying a round of beers and stuff like that. That was the kind of person the Saints fans, because he's an everyman. The problem is when things went bad, that's the kind of stuff that people are the first thing to jump on. Oh man, you're screwing around rather than doing what you're supposed to be doing. You know, you don't know what you're doing, that kind of thing. And fans turn on you that quickly. So, you know, it was a love-hate thing. He was a rock star for a year, and then he was pariah for the next 2.5. So, I mean, and Allen is not. Allen is somebody who's seemingly very cerebral. He's emotional on the sideline, but he doesn't have that brash, outspoken personality, you know, and that actually is a good thing for Sean Payton, because that was kind of his problem with someone like a Greg Williams, because Greg Williams used to be a head coach. He was brought up in that Buddy Ryan defense. So he is somebody who is cocky and arrogant and struts around looking at people, you know, and that's a tough personality match, because like Buddy, when he was with the Houston Oilers, and even to an extent with the Chicago Bears, you know, it was kind of like, I'm really in charge. This is two teams, not one team. I'm in charge of the defense. I don't give a damn what you guys do over there in playland on offense, but my side of the building and talk to my defense. I talk to this defense. And that's not a good combination for, especially a head coach like Sean Payton, who, because it was successful, did back away, because he's like, they got that. I don't have to watch them. Well, they got that. And
we as part of our build up for tonight, we were going to revive an old segment we used to do called Photographs and Memories, which we will, more than likely, we will address that next week. In terms of our favorite Saints games of all time. Surprised when it comes to which one mine is, because I can as a preview, I can tell you mine is not the Super Bowl and it's not the NFC Championship game. Although the NFC Championship game was a close second, and that's all I'll say.
You know, I'm glad you pushed this off to next week, because I saw that on there, and I still am thinking my favorite all-time favorite game, because I have all-time favorite games, you know, from multiple years. Anytime the Jim Morris team beat that was going to be a favorite game.
Absolutely.
You know, beating the Falcons is always a favorite game. You know, the 4K game where he beat the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday Night Football, that was a favorite game of mine for a long time. You know, it gets hard, because the 42-0 shutout of the Denver Broncos, John Elway and the Broncos, my favorite game. That was a fun game. You know, it gets hard, because I start thinking about, okay, it's a favorite game, but it's also how important is that game? How many people remember that game? Like, mention, the 1979 game in the rain. The Saints finally beat the Falcons after 3 times. That was a favorite game, but how do you remember that game? You know, the final score was 30-6. It was a sloppy, rainy, ugly game, but it was so fun because the Falcons were so inept. You know, and it was like, finally, we got you. You know, so that was a favorite game. But you know, it's not that statistically and historically, it's not really that important. Whereas, let's say in 2006, that Saints-Eagles game where we burned off the last 8.5 minutes of that ball game, and the Eagles couldn't do anything. Deuce kept getting first downs, and this is going to be something John will talk about, things he learned on Under the Dome. I was at that game, okay? So this is what we were doing. This is back when you had Jerry Romick doing the announcer, the PA system in the dome, and he goes, "First down, Saints." Well, it got to the point because you're burning off 8.5 minutes, and the Eagles can't stop you, and it's constantly 3rd and less than 3. You give the ball to Deuce, he gets the first down. So, and they got to measure a lot of them. So we're all in the stands like this, wiggling our fingers with our arms like this, okay? And there's like a whole row of us. And he goes, first down. We all do it in a row like that. So that was a fun game because the Eagles fans are like, somebody stop this guy from running a football. And we just keep going, and Deuce just keeps picking up the first down. So it was a fun game because you're looking at, Andy Reid, and he can't figure out how to stop the damn thing. The defensive coordinator for the Eagles, he had died later on, but Sean McDermott was his student, Jim. It'll come to me later. I keep saying Jim Jeffcoat. That's not who it is. It's Jim something, but he died. He was a very aggressive defensive coordinator. He's just sitting with his arms folded, pissed off, because his defense can't stop him. And it was fun because if you watch the 2006 playoff game, that's a game where, once again, 8 minutes left in the game, we got the ball, and here we're doing the same thing again. And the difference is that time we had the scary pitch play to Reggie Bush, and he didn't quite either hear it or quite catch it, and the ball hits his hand. We fumble, and the Eagles get the ball, and thank God for somebody had a false start on 3rd down. We were able to get the ball again, but it was like we were setting up the same kind of ending where we had almost the same amount of time, 8 minutes and some change, and we was going to run the ball and run the ball and run the ball and just keep picking up first downs, eating up all the clock, putting the game away. So, that's the kind of stuff, I remember when it comes to my favorite games. It's like, how much fun was it to be at that game or to watch that game and extend the middle finger at the Falcon fans. You're doing it from your TV, but you're going, yeah, up yours. How does it feel? And I mean, that's what happens when you're a Saints fan. You just, Aaron Brooks, when he beat the 49ers in 2000 on a last-second play, I was screaming at the TV, how does it feel? How does it feel? Because the 49ers had done that to us so many times. That's what it's like to watch a Saints game.
I want to announce that the New Orleans Saints and be making a trip to Gulfport, Biloxi, doing their let me make sure the terminology is correct.
Is that the black and gold
They're
scrimmage?
Coming to Biloxi, Mississippi for Hall of Fame tour or Super Bowl road trip. We want to invite everyone in the Gulfport, Biloxi area to come and try to catch this. And do a personal favor. Look for my man, Jerry Poore. One of these days, I'm going to meet the guy face to face, and he's going to tell me how long I've been mispronouncing his name. Look for the birthday boy. His birthday is 1 week from tomorrow, same day as my little guy, Drew. Jerry Poore's birthday. You guys look for him in Gulfport, Biloxi at the Saints Super Bowl Roadshow, and tell him that if you saw us under the dome and you want to wish him a very, 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 and we thank Jerry for his very diehard support absolutely worth the effort to come through every week. And we thank all of you guys for following us on Facebook, for following us on iTunes, for subscribing to our network on YouTube. Everything that you guys do to support us, we very, very much. Also, June 17th at Tioga High School, there is the drew a blank all of a sudden. There's going to be a football game.
Yeah. Keep going. Mississippi versus Mississippi versus
Louisiana.
Yeah.
And I'm really jacked because not only do I get to meet the original primetime player of the New Orleans Saints, Joe Horn, I also get to meet Mama Jane, Miss Jane Mabry, and I'm really, really looking forward to both, actually. We want to thank you guys for tuning in with us and hanging out tonight. You guys bear with us. We're working our way through the off season. We're what was it? 94, 95 days out now?
We're 97 days. 97 days. Because that's the countdown I'm watching on Facebook right now. They keep putting players up. So today it was Leroy Glover. Yesterday I think it was 90. I think it was Willie Whitehead. And 2 days ago it was 99. It was Big Norman Hand, Big Wiggle. So yeah, it's 97 was today. So tomorrow will be 96.
When was it 97?
97 was this morning. Bob Rose had the picture. You know, the unofficial third person on fourth person, because we got to count Pinto as a third person.
Yeah.
The unofficial fourth person on Under the Dome. Bob Rose, our most frequent guest, he did a story on famous players who wore 97. So, and the picture he had was of Leroy Glover.
God, you'd almost think.
What, I'm pushing somebody's stuff? Oh, yeah.
Owed Bob money or something.
Oh, I ain't paying Bob anything. He's a damn.
I love Bob, man. Bob, my brother from another mother.
Bob lives in Steeler country, so I got to give him a break. I give him credit for that, you know. I still like the Steelers from my days as a huge. We want to thank
everyone for your Lord support. You have no idea how much it means to us for you guys to support what we do. We do what we do out of a labor of love. It means the world to us to be able to bring this to you, but you know, it's only half of the equation, I guess you could say, so to speak. We bring it, but you guys there to receive it every day that we do it. So thank you guys so much.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for putting up with my ramblings and seeing facial expressions and all this stuff. You know, I just start on a topic and just start running with it. So yeah, I've been thinking about all day. Okay, my favorite games. Oh my God, what game's gonna be my favorite game? That won't sound cliche, like, I really like when we won the Super Bowl. Oh, that's good. That's really good. Yeah. You know, make it a fun story. Make it an interesting story. Okay. And then I start going, and when you start telling me you think about games, I'm like going, now I'm thinking about all the games we lost that I thought we were going to win. And that could have been my favorite game, except we lost. Son of a bitches. Start thinking like that. You know, that's where my mind starts going.
That would entirely too wide a ledger.
Oh God. Yeah. That, you know, here we go again. I bring up that 2011 49ers game. That was inches away from being one of the greatest Saints games ever. You know, Harper makes an interception, and it's the greatest Saints game ever. because once again, you beat the 49ers in the last second. They threw the interception, not Bobby Hebert, you know. Anyway, here we go. Let's wrap up tonight, and we'll talk about that kind of stuff at another time when we're drinking and we want to drown our sorrows. We talk about worse games than when the game we just saw. So, anyway, good night, everybody.
I never get concerned until your eyebrows meet in the middle.
Oh yeah, yeah, and I got even with this big ass nose. There's still a lot they can still reach each other. All right, good night, everybody. Thank y'all for watching.
Thank you.